Cross is tapped home, and it's the skipper, George Dobson. It's absolutely wonderful from Scott Fraser. Scores in front of the goal. Takes a shot.
Jason Pearce takes the reins today as we return to the Valley, searching for a victory. The transfer window slammed shut last night, and we are all hoping for a change of fortunes in what has been a very difficult past few weeks. Fleetwood Town are the visitors today, and they sit second bottom in League One with just 1 point from the opening 4 matches, although they are coming off a narrow 1-0 loss to Shrewsbury, which saw them reduced to 9 men. The atmosphere is building here at the Valley with a little bit more than 30 minutes until kick-off. Lots to come. Here's a taster. Today, for the first time, we hear exclusively from interim manager Jason Pearce, who I caught up with a little earlier. We'll also look at the changes at the club from the summer transfer window to the changes in the dugout. And we'll speak to skipper George Dobson, who is playing maybe his best football in the Charlton shirt this season. Well, a warm welcome to everyone around the world, and if you haven't as yet bought a streaming match pass, please do. Just £10, and hopefully you will be witnessing our second home win of the season. Well, a manager sacking, an interim manager, and the transfer window closing. Thank goodness I've got the A-team alongside me, Curbs and Brownie. Look, Curbs, only one place to start, have to say. How was the Blackwall Tunnel?
Oh.
It wasn't good. We'll move on.
Oh, absolutely. The Brownie warned me, but I thought sit in the tunnel for an hour, or it's an hour to Dartford for me. And I just got to near the tunnel, and Jason Morgan phoned me up and said, "Turn round, go Dartford." It was chaos.
Yeah.
But apparently, a couple of Jason's friends have been stuck there for 2 hours.
Unbelievable.
God knows what's going on.
Unbelievable. There. No, of course, what we've got to talk about pretty much immediately is the sacking of Dean Holden as well. Where were you when you heard, and what were your thoughts?
Can't remember where I was, but I just thought I was a bit surprised, I must admit, simply because the people in charge of the club actually brought Dean into the club, so that was one thing. So I thought there was that, if things were going bad, there's that little bit of connection that you know each other. Also the fact that perhaps we've got a few injuries and he's missing 3 or 4 of his first team players. And then this game today, which is another opportunity before the window closes to get 3 more points on the board. Apart from that, I'm thinking, well, if you're going to sack your manager, you've got someone lined up, surely. Why do it if you haven't? And we've seen this week that we've approached this one, that one, that one, that one. Don't know how true that is, but listen, you know what it's like. Everyone knows what it's like. You know, if you're thinking of changing your manager, you're thinking about who you're bringing in, and you do a bit of homework. And that's what surprised me most, that we are now in this position. Well, I've not got nothing against Jason Pearce, nothing at all. But if you can sack your manager, which is a really big decision, then surely you've got people lined up or a shortlist or whatever.
Well, Curbs has mentioned the word surprise 2 or 3 times there. How much of a surprise was it to you?
Yeah, I was surprised. Absolutely. I was chipping balls across the back garden when I got buzzed. Yeah, I got buzzed. Oh, I'm joking. Yeah, I thought he was going to get today. There was a pressure mounting because of the results, and we can explain, you know, perhaps why we're at that point of getting those results with the injuries, etc. But I guess the only explanation I can give to people listening to explain what Curbs just said is a fallout. Is the only way you're not prepared. Something's been said, something's happened, that's the only explanation. But we don't know, you know, we're making assumptions. But you know, the boil it all down, he's gone, and you know that's immaterial now. I think for me, you know, the decision's been made, you know, and you can have your say on it, rightly or wrongly. But now I think it's terms of what's the plan moving forward, and let's get one quick.
For what it's worth, I agree with you. I think the fact that we haven't got someone ready to come in, I think they're again, we're just completely guessing here. There was
sense, Scott, to see this game out. You've got international break.
Well,
then you got 2 weeks where
which then makes you think even more than maybe there was a fallout.
But if he wins,
if he wins, it's difficult
then
to
what
sack
do you
off
do?
to a win.
See what I mean? It's a tough. Nothing's ever simple. But there was obviously a decision made. Something was triggered after that weekend's result. We're not quite sure what.
I agree, but Curbs, we talked about how it sounds like, although we don't know, certain people have been asked and whether they've turned it down or not. But it is important, however long it takes, and the fact that we're not playing next weekend as well, it gives a little bit more time to get the right person, because this next appointment is crucial, isn't it?
Well, we've had so many appointments, haven't we? I've lost track, really. Since we've been doing this, I think we've had 5, 6 managers, have we?
I'm with you. I've lost track as well. I'm not sure.
Change of owners, chief executives, sporting directors. There's no stability at the club at all. And obviously that comes with new owners coming in and want to be successful. I understood from the beginning that the group in charge now, this was a long-term thing. They know that the club is a big club in its own right, but it needs rebuilding from the bottom, and it might not take 2 or 3 years. It may take 4, 5, 6 years. So I was under the impression that was the plan, but obviously after 5 games, they've decided to make a change.
Final one then, you don't have to mention names if you don't want to, but you can. Who would you want to come in, or what type of manager would you want to come in?
If I might put me in a spot there, because I really want to say what I would say.
Why?
Because I don't think it's fair on the candidates that have applied. They're out there, aren't they? We know who's applied, and I think it's unfair. But I guess I think this team needs somebody a bit Lee Bowyer-ish. I've got to be honest with you. So I'm not saying it has to be Lee Bowyer, but it needs somebody who's a leader at the very, very top, who's not going to waver. And if there's one thing I thought was happening, sort of particularly this season, when there was a waver from maybe where Dean started when he walked in the building, which was he was a bit of an authority, and I thought that sort of wavered as this season started. I thought he come away from the principles that he walked in the building with a little bit. I can't explain why, but I think the guy at the very top needs to be very strong.
I think a few boxes got to be ticked, haven't they? Someone that knows the league, that's the first thing, I would have thought. Secondly, someone who's got a bit of experience and knows other people in and around the game. It's impossible to judge now if whoever that person was could bring some players in, because it's ended, isn't it? The window's closed. But I would imagine the number one priority is someone that has been in this league and knows this league and knows what it's like to go to Fleetwood Town and some of these grounds, etc. Not a manager who perhaps has been in the Championship or whatever and has never had to face this sort of...
someone who understands it, experienced it for the second time already today, and I don't like it, Brownie, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm not liking what's happening here, but we do need someone strong, I think, absolutely. Look, I'll tell you what, someone who's a very proud man right now, and that is Jason Pearce, because he is the interim manager for today's match, and I spoke to him a little earlier. Piercy, thanks very much for joining me. You're standing there, I'm talking to you, who currently is the Charlton manager. How does that feel? A bit surreal?
Yeah, it does feel surreal, but a proud moment for me and my family. But more importantly, it's not about me, it's about today. And just this week I just tried to sort of put a positive spin on everything with everything that's been going on. Transfer window doesn't help on Friday, but no, the lads have been great with me, really receptive to everything we've been asking, and really looking forward to today, to be honest. Yeah,
it has been a manic week, hasn't it? Obviously with the manager going, as you say, the transfer window as well, and different players coming in. What have you worked on significantly this week?
I just think, just in terms of how I want to be as a coach, I've sort of tried to put my stamp on it. So had a real focus on Thursday of us out of possession and what I wanted it to look like. I want us to, as a group and as a team, to press aggressively, press high, and get after teams. So that was one focus. And then obviously on the Friday, we looked at us in possession, and I think we've got some talented players. But also the focus again was at times us in possession, but we've also got to think of the what ifs when we do lose it and make sure we're secure behind the ball. And obviously me being a defender, that's quite a key thing, and I don't want to concede goals. So yeah, they were probably two of the things that we've sort of focused on this week, and trying to lift the lads and making sure they're in good spirits going into the game. Yeah,
I was a defender, so I'll be thinking the same thing as well. And that has been our problem this season, hasn't it? What if, and we haven't been ready. In terms of the sort of bigger picture, is there a bigger picture? What have the owners said to you about what they want you to do?
Literally just take over as interim. I got a call Sunday night, quite late Sunday, said the manager's gone. I was actually out with family, friends. I didn't have a clue that the manager had gone, so I looked at it as the first time I'd heard it, and he just said, I want you to take over as interim and get the lads together and put your stamp on it, really. I want you to lead it. And obviously I had a little chat with my wife and Steve Avery, the academy director, making sure he was okay with it. And yeah, I just said I want to help the club out as much as I can, and that's what I've been trying to do this week, really.
So for this week, you're his boss rather than the other way around.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So what about your stamp then? What is the team you've picked today?
So we've gone 4-3-3 with the players we've got available. We felt like that was probably going to be the best formation, but quite fluid in what we're going to do. In possession, but we've gone Harry in goal, Nathan Asimwe right back, Michael Hector, Lloyd Jones, Teo, and then midfield will be Dobbo and Karoy, with front four. On the right will be TC, on the left will be Corey Blackett-Taylor, as a 10 sort of roaming it will be Chem, and then Alfie up front in his own. Obviously we believe they're going to play a 3-5-2, so we feel like with that front four we can cause them a lot of problems, but obviously with a solid base behind that.
Yeah, it sounds attacking, it sounds exciting. I'm sure the fans will get behind it 100%. And in terms of Fleetwood, they'll probably be coming here, the fans expecting all 3 points, but it has been tough over the last few weeks. So what are you expecting from them?
Well, I think they're going to be a difficult outfit. Obviously, they're in a similar position to us. I think they'll sit in at times and make it hard for us, and then try and catch us on the counter-attack. We know that. But I think it's important, like you say, we might have a lot of the ball, but it's important when we do have the ball, we're also looking secure at the back, like I mentioned before. So it's going to be an interesting game. But one thing I've mentioned to the boys, which I think's key, is we have to earn the right, and we have to win our battles first and foremost. So I'll be expecting to see that from the lads today. That'll be the mindset straight away. The first 5-10 minutes, we're gonna be getting after them. We're gonna be turning them. And earning the right, which I think is important in any game.
And final one for me, the fans have a lot of love for you. It needs to be spread out now with the team, doesn't it? How important will they be today to support this group of players that you've picked?
No, I think sometimes I said to someone yesterday, someone was talking about myself, and I said sometimes it can be a distraction for the players. Like if they're talking about me, then that can be a good thing for the players. It takes a bit of pressure off them. But I think ultimately, once they go over the white line, the fans will be expectant on a performance, and I know what the fans expect, so I'll be making that clear to the players, and also making it clear to the players to go out and express themselves and go and play with freedom, because I know as a player, you know as a player, that when you do that, you play your best football. So there's no pressure from me, just go out and enjoy it, and hopefully we can get the 3 points. I'm
just checking the bench, I don't think you're on it, so you'll be at the touchline for the full 90 minutes. Piercey, good luck.
Thank you, cheers.
I wonder how tempted he was to put himself on the bench, perhaps not so much anymore. But he talked about tweaks, and he makes 3 changes in his first game in charge. A full debut for Chem Campbell, who assisted the goal last week. Michael Hector and Tyrese Campbell also come in. That's for Deji Lucas and Daniel Kano. And great to see Miles Leaburn on the bench for the first time this season. So, Curbs, what do you think?
Well, I think one of the things that perhaps went against Dean last week is he tried to go with some younger players at the back, and with 5 minutes to go before half time he changed it, and to be honest we got better. He changed it at half time and we were a better side in the second half, so that's great credit. He said it wasn't working, but Pearce has gone for a little bit more experience at the back with Hector. I still think it's a ball down to our main man at the moment, and that's Corey Blackett. If he can do what he has been doing, hopefully Alfie may get on the end of it and settle us down and give us a bit of a lift and a bit of a decent start.
Experience at the back, Brownie, but it also looks like square pegs and square holes there as well.
Yeah. Did I mishear, or did he say Ches was going to go behind May? So it's sort of like Anderson and Dobson.
He can do,
there's
yes.
2 sitters, and I quite like the look of that, if I'm honest. If there was a 10 effectively behind Alfie May, making runs in behind, supporting Alfie a little bit more, I quite like the look of that. But you can understand why he's gone for experience. I think that's the first thing I would have done if I was stepping in for a game. Players that understand the game and have got 200 games under their belt or so, because their likelihood is they're going to be able to handle this pressure a little bit more. Both teams are seriously out of form, let's just say that. But we are the home side, and the onus is on us to go and get this result. So I'd kind of pick players that I could trust, that shouldn't make mistakes that maybe some young players can make. So you can understand why he's gone with those 2 centre halves, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, and if you look at the bench as well, there's Miles Lieburn, which is a massive boost to come back. It'd be great to see half an hour from him. There's Daniel Kanu, who is making an impact as well, and then also Charlie Kirk if we do need to win the game. So fingers crossed we will start off really well, but there are some game changers off the bench. It's another full League One schedule and some more tasty ties to get stuck into. Blackpool at the top there have struggled for goals and, like us, haven't won since opening day. They face a strong-looking Wigan side. Beneath that, maybe the tie of the day between the two pre-season favourites for the league, Bolton Wanderers against Derby County. Exeter and Lincoln both have started well with 10 points in away games at Bristol Rovers and Burton Albion respectively. And as we go down the list, Leyton Orient will be looking to build on their first win of the season last week when they host fifth-placed Stevenage. And of course, in a battle between two teams we've already played, Oxford United take on Port Vale. Who do you see winning that one, Brownie?
Oh, Oxford. I think Oxford were a strong side last week. I watched the highlights, leading up to our game last week, and they were impressive. Actually, in terms of what I was watching, it was a good, solid side. Worked hard, technically good through the lines and through the units. So I think that'll be a home win. I like the tie underneath that. Actually, I think that's going to be a good game. Yeah, it'll be a great atmosphere down there as always. And that will be good, wouldn't it? Portsmouth, Peterborough, but also as I mentioned as well, second top Bolton, Derby.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't escape the fact that there's so many big clubs in this league. Every time you see the fixture list, you can see that. And clubs that feel that they should be perhaps in the Championship or even better, like ourselves. But it's not that easy, is it, as we've seen? You have to earn the right of that, there's no doubt. OK, we're at the Valley today, and last week it hosted Charlton's opening game of the Women's Championship season as the Addicts drew 1-1 with Sheffield United. And our goal was scored by summer signing Kaylee Green. You have to say, absolutely sniffed danger here around the back. Left back shouldn't be doing that, should they? But I tell you what, it's a decent first touch, and even better second as well, wasn't it? Terrific finish. One touch, may have lost it completely. They had another touch.
Curbs will be campaigning for goal of the season there already, wouldn't you, on your little panel?
I do get a vote, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, reading the situation, the touch was played a little bit behind her, but then the second touch to whip that round, I think, was superb, I have to say. This is the equaliser, and unfortunately, it came from Rebecca Rayner in the injury time as well. Sean Rogers had made some excellent saves before then, but not able to keep that one out. But Curbs, look, the bigger picture here, record crowds here for that game, the highest since the women's team turned professional. They're back at the Valley next weekend, so an opportunity for supporters to get their families down and cheer the team on. You've always championed the fact of them coming down, haven't you? Let me just say, sorry, before that, Watford are the next visitors next weekend. In the meantime, you can watch Charlton women away to Reading live on the FA Player for free after today's game. The kick-off is at 5:15, so you'll have to stream it alongside our post-match analysis from here to begin with as well. But yes, Curbs, I mean, it's a great experience for them, isn't it?
It's definitely on the up, the women's game. There's no mistaking it. I know people have been talking since the World Cup that, it's going to get a big lift, but I think it already had a big lift. I think with what the England team done in the Euros, etc., and the crowds that some of the teams are getting, especially when they open up their stadiums. And listen, I know, because I'm a little bit involved in it, with on the league managers, I have a vote.
Be careful what you say. I know you're biased on the voting, but we've got to try and...
I've gone for Cowmills a few times, and they have actually questioned me. But no, it's great that they're playing at the stadiums, and I know it's a big expense for the clubs, but it's great. And I've been saying that the under-23 should be playing here a lot more as well. Yeah,
full highlights of that game is on the Charlton Athletic Women's YouTube channel. And Brownie, look, a draw, disappointed to concede that goal late on, so they'll be looking for a win next time out.
Absolutely, and you could see actually from that footage, it was crestfallen. It was a stealing in the centre of midfield, and we got done like that, didn't we, in the first game? Should have hooked it around the corner, and it's a decision you make in that moment, and it's cost them a goal. But that was another wonderful finish. Let's not take away from the girl that smacked that in the back of the net. That's 24 yards out. Keeper had no chance. So disappointing. But, we were one up right to the death, and all you can do then is just approach the next game. Looks like they played pretty well.
24 yards out, that's obviously you've measured that very precise.
It might have been 22, 23.
OK, well, good luck next week, Karen, and the women's side. OK, well, George Dobson was in attendance at that game last week, and I had the pleasure of catching up with him a little earlier.
Dobbo, thanks very much for joining us. I mean, how would you sum up this week? It's been a heck of a week, hasn't it, for the football club?
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it, really. It's been a mad week, especially off the pitch, with everything going on, with Dean leaving and with obviously the close of the transfer window and Pearcey coming up. And yes, it's been a mad week. It's not been an easy week, if I'm being honest. I had a really good relationship with the gaffer and with Shims and Sens, and I think a lot of the players did. So it was a tough one to take, but we've been in this industry now for a long time, and these things happen, and we've just got to now prepare the best we have for obviously what is a massive game today, and we know that as a group. We know we're not a million miles away. We know the first half against Oxford wasn't good enough, but apart from that, apart from a few little things, we've not been bad. We could easily be sitting here on 9-10 points and thinking we're going to win the league. So that the confidence is still up. We just know we've got to put in a really strong performance for the fans today, and most importantly, the result. Obviously, the performance would be great, but not beating around the bush. We know that the result's needed today.
So Pearcey's come in. What differences have you seen? You know, how's this week been?
Yeah, it's been good. Pearcey's he's not tried to complicate it too much, which I think was the right way to go. He's just tried to try to get us a little bit more organised on the counter attack, which is what we've been a little bit susceptible to in the last few games. And obviously set pieces. They're the two things really where we've struggled, and we know they're the two most important things. I think if we can nail down and get right, then we'll be in a good place.
You're becoming ever more important to this team, not just as a captain, but the way you play as well. I mean, the stats say your ball carrying and progressive passing have improved. I think your general awareness has improved as well. How much have you worked on that? And, you know, is that something really that you have been speaking to with the manager about, or has that come naturally from you?
Yeah, I've obviously when you're like speaking with family and speaking with the manager and speaking with the staff, I was looking at my game, and obviously I'm known for winning the ball back, the aggressive side off the pitch, off the ball, sorry. But I was told probably I'm not playing quite forward enough at times. So I really worked hard on that over the summer and worked hard on my power in the gym to. I've tried to drive with the ball a little bit more and try and progress my game, really. I obviously want to be the best player I can possibly be, and I want to do the best I can for this club. So if I'm obviously playing well as the captain of the team, if I can play well and try and bring players with me, then that's all I want, really.
Well, quite often you're the best player on the pitch, so clearly that's working anyway. But I'm going to hand you over now. We've got Junior Addicts Day at the Valley, and we have 11-year-old Sydney to ask the final question. And by the way, you are her favourite player.
I know. You right?
Yeah, so obviously you're my favourite player, and you've played at a lot of clubs before. You came into the Charlton side and you fit in easily, and then you got captain. How did that feel to fit in so easily, and how do you think that we can improve the team and start winning more games?
To me coming, fitting in easily, yeah, it's been the easiest club for me to fit into. I think because I live not too far away, and being close, having family nearby and stuff like that did help settle. And then, yeah, being the opportunity to captain this amazing football club is genuinely the greatest honour I've had of my career, and I just want so much success for the football club. I genuinely do. So I'm just, hoping today can be the day we can kickstart our season. Yeah,
I would really enjoy that if we would win, and if we can bring it back and maybe get promoted this season.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Sydney. She's like Jeremy Paxman there, wasn't she? You know, get promoted this season. Fantastic.
You want to be careful. She was your job,
She
mate.
was much better than me. Don't worry about that. Well done, Sydney. Enjoy the day.
Tightened up a little bit more to her than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I get that a lot, to be honest with you, especially with you two. It's a nightmare. But it is what it is now, isn't it? They still keep asking me back, so until they say no, that's it. Look, I mean, we won't spend too long over Dobbo because we've spoken a lot about him. I was really interested and really impressed with that answer, the final answer for me, where he said he'd been working over the summer in terms of his fitness and making sure how he can improve himself. I mean, that's what a proper professional does, doesn't it?
I mean,
Not all do.
I think we take him for granted a little bit. I think we take the tackling and the cutting out of offensive situations against us, but his passing range, that's what really impresses me, because he can see the 5 yard, he can flick it round the corner and get it back, but he can also see the 50, 60 yard pass as well. I don't know how he can get more forward.
No, I don't.
You know, he was talking about that. He has had a couple. I can't see it, although he did for the Orient goal. I don't know how he can do that, because if he does it, I don't think we've got anybody else who can do the other side of it.
I think sometimes he's on his own in midfield.
Yeah, so unfortunately, George, if I was in charge, I'd have to sacrifice the thing going forward. You're staying where you are.
I'd have almost said the opposite to what he said. Just stick there and do your job, because you do it so effectively.
Yeah.
So effectively.
Yeah. OK, look, you know, the January transfer window, they always say, was slam shut last night, wasn't it, Curbs? I mean, how did you used to enjoy or endure the transfer window?
I didn't. In the first couple of years in the Premier, I didn't enjoy it at all, because I didn't mind the summer one, but when it got to the Christmas one, I didn't enjoy that, because if someone took one of your players, it's very difficult to replace them. But I didn't want that phone to ring too often. I mean, I made my phone calls very early, and you know, if nothing happened, it didn't happen. But then you don't want that phone to go.
Tempted to put it on mute or turn it off?
Or they get someone else then, don't they? You know, but they always get to you at some stage. You know, that's what you don't want. You don't want the phone ringing 2 days before deadline day.
Yeah. Allegedly up to 2.3 billion was spent in the Premier League this time around. But look, I mean, 4 players in yesterday, which brings us up to 11 this summer in total. We've also had 2 out on loan yesterday. Summarise the ins and outs. Tenai Watson, he's signed on a permanent.
Sorry, if I came out like that, can you imagine what you'd have done?
The boys would have been happy, because that would have been a fine.
Exactly.
Kids nowadays, it's about what he does on the pitch.
He'd have gone, there's a cash pot over at a club shop, mate, can you go get 100 quid for the fine pot?
and he won't get away with it either.
God, they've got some bad gear, haven't they?
No,
that's coming from me.
No, obviously, it's the way it is. It's the way it is now.
It is what it is. Look,
hey, listen, what did Dean have on last week? Well, that little number, he had a nice little white T-shirt underneath a jacket.
Absolutely.
I couldn't imagine me in that.
I mean, the other 3, Louis Watson, loan from Luton, talented central midfielder, really impressed at Derby before signing for Luton last season. There's James Abankwa, loan from Udinese, just 19 years of age, an Ireland youth international, played games in Serie A, centre-half, and Slobodan Tedic as well. And he's there in the white hoodie there. That Boban, he likes to be called, on loan from Manchester City as a striker. Paid a few million for him a couple of years ago as well. Had a decent loan at Barnsley last season. 6'3", so he certainly should win a lot of headers there. Important Curbs to get numbers in.
Well, it is. I think you know, and to be fair, they've come in knowing the manager's gone. You know, so that's I think that's a big tick for the club, that they've still come and signed for us. I'm just a little bit. I'm looking out here like we do. There ain't going to be a bit of a crowd here today. A lot to do with the opposition as well. Holidays ending, etc., and where we are in the league. So this ain't the Charlton that we'd like to show them at the moment. They've just clapped the cover then, but this ain't. You know, that's why we've got to get a bit of a lift. We've got to get the result today. That's for sure.
No, we are 7 minutes away from kick-off, and it's not looking very full at all, is it? So, you know, they've got to look at the infrastructure and the capability and the potential this club has, rather than where it is right now, and be a part of that.
That's it. That's
to get them where we want to be.
You know, they probably, you know, when you're signing players, they do look at the history and the past and where they think the team's going to go, and if they can come here and if they can do well and improve their careers. So, yeah, listen, we're still attractive. You know, there's been a bit of criticism that we haven't spent any money in real terms. I mean, I suppose there's money spent on agents and things like that, but we haven't spent a lot of money. You know, but are we that attractive enough to attract players? I watched the game last night, the Luton West Ham game, where Luton have got a ton of money because they've been promoted, but they can't attract the players because players ain't going to go there knowing they're in a relegation battle. You know, so that's a tough one, and people are looking at us. We may have bid for players, but they're saying we're not coming there yet. You know, you could get relegated, or you're in a relegation situation. You know, get yourself a bit higher up the league, and I'll think about it. You know.
Just Brownie, first thing he says, looking at the clobber.
Yeah,
It's awful.
What would you have, I mean, it wasn't awful, but was it appropriate? I suppose that's the question, really.
I mean, the question I'd ask is, it should all be in club tracksuits, surely, but they're not. So, but I think my thing looking at that is how young they looked, and I know they're 23 and under, aren't they?
Yeah.
All four of them. And then you look down at the team and you think, right, okay, that's my only worry, is you've got your two centre halves as the most experienced. Obviously, Alfie up front, I don't think he's a born leader at all. I think he leads by example of his work rate, as opposed to being...
leaders do that as well.
Absolutely, but it's another way of leading, but not vocally.
Bradley, when you talk about leaders, the goal we conceded last week at Oxford in the last minute, you know, 2 or 3 people in the team should have realised, you know, hold on, we've got too many people in the box. You know, I know we're trying to win the game and etc., but we don't want to lose it. And when the young boy got outpaced, the same way he got outpaced the last minute here, was it Port Vale? You know, take it away from him, put an experienced boy there, you know what I mean? So there's only, for me, George and probably Hector at the moment who will actually point the finger, and you need a few more.
Well, Pearcey talked about the what-ifs, and we haven't thought that enough. What if we lose the ball there? So what do we think about the balance of the squad? Because it's now, that's it until January. And what would an incoming manager think of it?
Well, I think with Miles fit, that's a big bonus. Hopefully, you know, he stays fit. Because I do think you know, I'm petrified that Alfie gets injured. Because Alfie will score goals if we can create the chance. I'm petrified if he gets injured with the injury situation we've got up top. So I'm glad to see one of them back. Anyway, in Miles.
You've got Fraser to come back. You know, there's some experience there. You know, he played a lot of games. But it's one of those ones where you ask the question of how's it looking. It's looking young to me. So you're going to have a manager that's an extremely good coach, I would say, because it's the young lads that make more mistakes than the older lads. The whole point of experience and playing games is that you learn as you go. You take hints and tips from your coaches and your manager, and it's the ones that can take on board the hints and the tips and make less mistakes as they grow up. They have the better careers. So I'd say coming in now, if you're a manager looking at that and you fancy yourself as a coach, you can put your own ideas into that group, because they're very much a learning group.
What about the outs then as well? Zach Mitchell went out on loan to Colchester, DJ went on loan to St Johnstone early in the week, Jack Payne went to MK Dons as well. We were talking about last week, it's important to get players out. We've done that there, haven't we? Yeah,
I mean, not necessarily to balance the books, but to make it easier at the training ground. If you've got so many players, you can't keep them all happy. And if you're taking training sessions and people are being left out on the sidelines, that's not a good atmosphere. So yeah, I'm sure. Well, Dean went, didn't he? So obviously, perhaps Andy Scott and others dealt with that, people leaving and coming in. But I would have thought they'd like to have got rid of 1 or 2 more, just to lighten the load a little bit. But it is what it is, and we've got to get on with it now.
Zach Mitchell, obviously. Going to Colchester, Ben Garner, know him well, so you know, I'm sure that will go down very well, and interesting and pleasing for Zach that Ben would want him. So, but in terms of, it's great to see Miles on the bench. We talked about systems. 3 at the back didn't look quite right, certainly with the personnel we had last week, and that was changed. Got 4-3-3 today. Just in terms of Miles, if he were to come on, how would that change things?
Well, I think he can play on the right. He has done that. He's quite versatile. So it could be Corey Blackett, Miles and Alfie May down the middle. And I think he's intelligent enough to play there. Whereas you've got some players that go out there and, you know, this ain't for me and you know, not do the job. I think he will if he's asked to do that. Just got to get him fit. We've got to get him fit and you know, so that we have got that backup. I'd
argue you're asking him to come into a side off the back of a long period out and only a week's training. You've got Khan who scored 3, so if I'm putting somebody on today to get me a goal, I'd go Kano over Miles at the moment, but Miles can offer you that physicality. So if you could argue that Miles goes up and you've got the big man, small man with Alfie. So it's great that you're actually starting to see options, as opposed to we didn't really have any options and now we have.
Players coming out then. And the fans here, as I say, it's by far from a full house, Curbs, but they are clapping the players coming out. And in terms of Pearcey, it's a very proud day for him, isn't it? And it looks like it'll only be the one game, especially with Wigan being pulled off as well. So he'll be desperate for 3 points today, won't he?
Yeah. I mean, stranger things have happened, one game. You know, who knows? But obviously, I think everybody connected with Charlton needs a result today.
You weren't given one game, were you, that turned into 28 years?
I don't know. Me and Gritty might have only lasted a couple of weeks. Who knows? If it wasn't for players like you.
Well, I was just about to say, you know, when he was about to trade to the dead one day, his phone goes, Klaus Jensen. No, but I've got a lad Brown. Trying to offload Brown again this side. No? Oh, OK.
Just a reminder for those at home watching on YouTube to get your live streaming pass for today's game. Just £10 to be able to watch Charlton's TV multi-camera production of today's match. And look, it's a great opportunity, Curbs, isn't it, for these players? Whoever's going to be the manager will be watching this game, and there'll be a number of prospective managers watching this game.
There will be. There will be.
These players now need to impress today, don't they?
Of course they do, but I think that, you know, perhaps the thing that is in the favour of the club is they've got a 2-week break now. If they're going to bring someone in, or if they don't get the man they want, and Pearce does well, then keep him in charge for as long as you need. But I'm sure they've got a lot of work to do next week.
Yeah. Got to touch on Fleetwood as well, Brownie. It's not quite happened for them. Scott Brown, the man in charge, still looking for their first win of the season. Now, how do you think they'll be approaching this game mentally and psychologically?
They shouldn't have lost last week. Looking at the highlights, they were much the better side. They lost to Shrewsbury at home. The goal they conceded is like one of the goals we've been conceded. They had a corner, it got cleared, and the guy was the last man, controlled it, slipped over. The guy ran 70 yards and put it in. Other than that, all the chances were Fleetwood's. So they can be encouraged by last week's performance, but that means very little when you've not won a game. Both sides really need to kick-start their seasons this year, but you know, us as the home side, like you say, these players, they must know that there are people in the crowd watching today that potentially could be our manager next in a couple of weeks.
He's so key, Corey, isn't he, Curbs?
Sorry?
Corey, so key.
Yeah, we're beginning to rely on him so much now, attack-wise.
And he'd be happy playing further up.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, he's got the ability to change games. And you know, and I think he's been our main attacking force so far this season. And the great thing is that he stayed fit, you know, because he was another one who came in last year who needed to regain his fitness.
Yeah, I think they've got an opportunity, them two, Eden and Blackett Taylor, to make a really good partnership. I think if there's an understanding between them two, they could link up really well. Corey driving